We count every calorie. We track every step. We drink our meals from a blender. And we do all of it to fight a biological program our ancestors would have died for. For 99% of human history, the single greatest threat to your existence wasn't war or disease. It was starvation. And the solution your body came up with was brilliant. It learned to store energy, to hold on to every last calorie it could find and save it for a day when there was nothing. We call that solution fat. And our ancestors didn't just see it as a survival mechanism. They saw it as the ultimate symbol of power, of beauty, and of success. Look at a painting from the 1600s. In the world of Flemish master Peter Paul Rubens, women have soft bellies, full thighs, and arms that aren't toned or sculpted. They are lush. They are heavy. And they are the ideal. This wasn't just one artist's preference. This was the culture. To be fat in the 17th century was to be rich. It was a physical announcement that you had made it. In a world where most people were one failed harvest away from starving, a large body was a billboard. It said, "I eat." It said, "My family eats." It said, "I have so much food, I don't even have to work for it." Think about what life was actually like. For the average person, food was scarce and monotonous. Bread, porridge, maybe some vegetables. Meat was a rare luxury. Sugar was so expensive it was kept in locked boxes, doled out like medicine. And every calorie you ate, you immediately burned, doing back-breaking physical labor from sunrise to sunset. There was no desk job. There was no commute. There was just the field, the forge, the workshop. In that world, getting fat was practically impossible unless you were a king, a queen, a bishop, or a wealthy merchant. It was the original flex. And this isn't just a European thing. This is a human thing. The oldest surviving sculpture of a human figure is the Venus of Willendorf, carved nearly 30,000 years ago. She has enormous breasts, a swollen belly, and massive thighs. She has no face and no feet. Because her face and feet didn't matter. Her body was the point. She is a symbol of fertility and survival in a brutal Ice Age world. For tens of thousands of years, across dozens of cultures, from Africa to the Pacific Islands, a heavy body was a sign of health, prosperity, and life itself. To be thin was to be poor, sickly, and close to death. So, why are our bodies so good at this? Why do they hold on to fat so tenaciously? In 1962, geneticist James Neal proposed an idea he called the Thrifty gene hypothesis. He argued that for most of human history, our ancestors went through cycles of feast and famine. The individuals who survived were the ones whose bodies were best at storing calories during the good times to burn during the bad. Their genes were thrifty. They were metabolically gifted at turning excess food into body fat. Those who couldn't died. We are the descendants of the survivors. Your body isn't malfunctioning when it stores fat. It's running a 200,000-year-old software program that was designed to keep you alive through the next ice age. The problem isn't the software. It's that the world it was built for is gone. But here's where the story gets complicated. Because you can't just ignore the last 50 years of medical science. Today, being overweight isn't seen as a sign of wealth. It's linked to a whole host of health problems. Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, certain types of cancer. Doctors and public health officials around the world are clear. The same adaptation that saved our ancestors is now a serious threat to our health. And honestly, they have a point. The world changed fast. For the first time in human history, starting in the 20th century, a huge portion of the population suddenly had access to more calories than they could possibly burn. And these weren't just any calories. They were processed, engineered, packed with sugar, salt, and fat in combinations that never exist in nature. Our thrifty genes, honed by millennia of scarcity, suddenly found themselves in a candy store that never closed. Combine that with a world where most of us sit in chairs all day, and you have a perfect storm. Our ancient biology collided with our modern environment, and the result is a global health crisis. We're not lazy. We're not broken. We're a species running on Stone Age hardware in a space-age world. It's a classic case of evolutionary mismatch. So, the story is simple. We used to value fat because we were starving, and now we fear it because we have too much food and it's making us sick. Case closed, right? Well, not quite. Because that only explains the health part. It doesn't explain the beauty part. It doesn't explain why a body type that was considered the peak of attractiveness for 30,000 years suddenly became undesirable in the span of a single century. The answer has nothing to do with health and everything to do with status. Thinness became the new flex for the exact same reason. Fatness was the old one. It's a signal of wealth. Think about it. In a world where cheap, calorie-dense, processed food is everywhere, what's expensive? Organic vegetables, lean protein, gym memberships, personal trainers, the time to cook your own meals instead of grabbing fast food, the leisure time to go for a run. In the 21st century, being thin and fit isn't easy. It takes money and it takes time. It's a public display of resources and, more importantly, self-control. In a world of overwhelming temptation, the ability to say no is the ultimate power move. The logic is identical. It just inverted the outcome. When food was scarce and labor was physical, a fat body signaled, "I have so much I don't have to work." Now that food is abundant and labor is sedentary, a thin, fit body signals, "I have the resources and discipline to overcome my environment." The ideal body is, and always has been, the one that is hardest to achieve. And here's the part that's truly strange. We didn't just change our minds about what was beautiful. We changed our minds about what was moral. For centuries, gluttony was a sin, but being fat wasn't. It was just a fact of life for the rich. But in the 20th century, that changed. Suddenly, body size became a public measure of your character. To be overweight was no longer just unhealthy, it was a sign of moral failure. Laziness. A lack of discipline. A lack of self-respect. We took a biological reality and turned it into a character flaw. This is a new idea. This is not how humans thought for thousands of years. Your great-great-grandmother didn't look in the mirror and worry about her thigh gap. The men in Rubens's paintings weren't admiring the women for their low body fat percentage. They were celebrating abundance, life, and the victory over starvation. We are the weird ones. We are the first humans in history to live in a world of such astonishing plenty that we have to actively fight our own body's deepest, oldest instinct, the instinct to survive. For 300,000 years, our bodies told a story about our relationship with the world outside. A fat body was a story of success, a victory in the long war against scarcity. A thin body was a story of failure, of poverty, of a life on the edge of extinction. All we did was change the battlefield. The war is no longer against the failed harvest or the long winter. It's against the vending machine, the drive-thru, the delivery app. And our bodies are still telling the story of who's winning. We just changed which side we're rooting for,